For those of you that don't know me, I'm the middle school, high school counselor. This is my first year here. I started in August. I had a long break home with kids for a while. Prior to that, I was a counselor at Blanchester High School, and before that, as Mr. White mentioned, I worked at Great Oaks for a while, so I have a career tech background as well. So this is our slide. If you'll click on the slideshow there, Mr. Brophy. And this is a nice little emoji. That's supposed to be me. Thank you, Mr. O'Connell, for that. Yeah. My daughter says that, yes, it does look like me. So College Credit Plus, I'm kind of trying to gauge the audience here. It looks like there are a few people that are currently in. Can you raise your hand if you're currently in CCP? I see Anne Marie, Katie. Okay, we got a couple. So most of you are probably new to CCP. College Credit Plus, basically, in a nutshell, allows qualified students to earn college credits while they're still in high school. You can take college classes before graduating high school, and you can earn both high school and college credits, so they call that dual enrollment or dual credit. It's available for Ohio residents at little to no cost. There are different ways you can take courses, so you can either take them on campus at the college, which is what I did when I was in high school. You can take it at your high school, which is what Mr. White mentioned about how we're going to do that here with Cedarville, or you can do them online, which was, this is kind of a newer thing, obviously, after COVID and all of those things. You can take classes during the summer term. So if you apply for funding now, you can get funding for this coming summer, fall, or spring. When I was taking classes, you couldn't take classes in the summer. It was just in fall and spring, but it's really kind of cool. You can take classes in the summer too, and it won't affect any of the classes that you're taking here on campus. So as I was kind of talking to students that are currently in CCP, I wanted to know, like, what's your why? Why would I send my 14, 15, 16-year-old to take college classes? Why would I want them to do that? They're still kind of young. So this is what some others had to say at LCS. So one of them is here tonight, Anne Marie. She's in the back. She's a 10th grade student, and she takes CCP. So I'll read this to you. It's kind of small. Anne Marie says, CCP is really worth it. It can be time consuming, but considering the amount of time and money you will save later, it makes it enjoyable to do. The only thing that can be hard about it is that the grades you get in CCP classes stay with you. So it's important to take the classes seriously. If you plan your classes in advance, there's the possibility to save thousands of dollars while completing a 2-year degree in high school. So that's what Anne Marie had to say. The other quote on the right is Caitlin Briggs, who is a senior. She also is a CCP student and our current soon-to-be valedictorian. She said, this is my 4th year as a CCP student. As a freshman, I was weary of doing college-level classes. But once I started, I realized it was not what I thought. CCP classes are organized on a simplified format. As long as you complete the work on time and study, you will succeed. The level of difficulty is higher, and they do expect more, but the pros far outweigh the cons. As a high school senior, I intend to be graduating from college with my associate's degree, which is awesome. I plan to do my master's degree, so instead of going to school for 6+ years, I will be going for 4. I would encourage others to take advantage of the CCP opportunity. It prepares you for the future and the outside world, while also gives you the skills that are useful for life. I am greatly impacted and thankful for all the things that it's given me. And then on the left here, that's Anne Marie's mom. Her name's Whitney. Is she here tonight? Yeah. So I shortened it a little bit so I could fit it on here. She said, I strongly recommend College Credit Plus to students who are motivated to challenge themselves academically. CCP students are treated as responsible adults and should be prepared to manage coursework individually with increased responsibility. Our family has greatly benefited from this program. Our daughter began CCP in 8th grade at Sinclair and is currently in 10th grade. She's on track to complete most of her associate's degree by the time she graduates from high school, with only clinical requirements and her BSN remaining. Whether the student knows what career they're interested in or they're still figuring that out, CCP is a great way to explore different fields. And then the last one, so I was talking to some of the staff and kind of talking about some of the classes we might have here next year with Cedarville. I was talking to Mr. B in the back, Mr. Baumgartner, ELA teacher, and I found out that he actually did CCP when he was in high school. It was called PSEO, which is what it was called when I was in high school. And he says CCP enabled me to graduate with my high school diploma and my 2-year associate's degree 1 week apart. It was one of the most difficult yet rewarding things I've ever accomplished. I especially enjoyed getting out of the more restrictive high school environment and into a college setting where I had more freedom of choice of how and where to spend my time. So I kind of had the same experience as a sophomore in high school. I had the opportunity to do PSEO, which is now CCP. I went to Little Miami High School, so I was close enough to commute to Wilmington College. So a couple of my friends also did classes, and we would drive up there a couple nights or a couple days during the week. And when I finished, I had 17 credits. So it was basically like shaving off a semester when I started at Lee University after my senior year. So it was a great opportunity. It was a little bit scary to jump into something like that as a sophomore. I know at the time the professors didn't know that I was a high school student, which I kind of liked. I didn't really want them looking at me and treating me differently. And I know it's a little bit different now in some of the CCP classes, but when I was in high school, I could kind of hide in the back and pretend like I was a college student. So it was really fun and I enjoyed it. So I can see on some of your faces, and this is kind of like myself too, I have a 6th grade student. The question that's in my mind is my student ready for college? We're talking about 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade students. Are they ready to take college classes? So the general eligibility, every institution is different, but generally they want you to have a high school GPA of at least a 3.0, a remediation-free score on the ACT, SAT, AccuPlacer, or ALEX, a final grade of an A or B in high school English and math, a relevant high school course with an A or a B, and then the completed application and your high school transcript. So that's just kind of the general eligibility. You will hear from our college reps here shortly, and they may have different qualifications. It's just kind of based on each institution and what they want for incoming students. So this kind of helped me conceptualize like high school versus college. So for example, study time, high school, required homework, as many of you know, as students, can be anywhere from, an hour to potentially 3 hours. That's a lot, but maybe like junior, senior year. In college, as some of our CCP students can probably attest to, it's 2 to 3 hours of studying or reading for each hour of class. So if you're taking a 3 credit hour class, you're looking at up to 9 hours a week for one class. So it's just the amount of time it's a lot different. Knowledge acquisition. So in high school, it's provided mostly in class and assignments follow what's covered. In college, they expect, as many of you remember, there's a lot of out-of-class work in advance as well as in-class discussion. So they expect that you're coming to class with whatever it is prepared. You've done the reading, you're ready to go, you're ready to talk. So it's not like you come to class to just sit there and be talked to. They're expecting that you're prepared. Tests in high school, they're given weekly or at the end of each unit. In college, as many of you remember, they're less frequent and they cover a lot more material. Grades, high school students have numerous quizzes, tests, they have homework assignments, all of these things. College, a lot fewer tests, few homework assignments. You have a midterm and a final for some of these classes, or 4 large papers that you have to write. The role of the parents and guardians, I think this is really important to note. So in high school, obviously, you can be as involved or as little involved as you want with your students, but you're working with their teachers. If they're struggling, you can email Mr. B, hey, Mr. B, my student's really struggling with this paper, or hey, Mrs. Books, my kid is not getting the accommodations they need, those types of things. In college, that responsibility is going to fall on the student, and the parents, as they would be if your student was a freshman in college, they're just more of a mentor and support. With accommodations, as I just mentioned, in high school, obviously parents and students work with the staff for the accommodations for students with an IEP or 504. In college, the student works directly with the college staff to determine if the accommodations are needed, and an IEP or 504 plan may or not be included. It's just going to be dependent upon the college and how much they're willing to help. It's not an automatic like it is in high school. So some things to consider, kind of just to break it down. Some of the pros, you can earn high school and college credit at the same time. You can save lots of money. Like Caitlin and Marie that are trying to pursue associate's degree, they're shaving off 2 years of college. And depending on where you go, that can be tens of thousands of dollars. It's a challenging curriculum, so if your student is really advanced in math or they're a great writer, it can be a really great opportunity for them to learn. You get a weighted GPA. So currently the way that we have it set up, and this may change in the future, Mr. White, I would say, yes, this may change in the future. Currently, if you take a class with CCP and you get a B, that's a 3.0 calculation on your GPA. We bump it up 1 point. So it's calculated the same as an A, which is nice. So that helps, kind of gives you that extra padding. I know when I was in high school and I took PSEO, that was not the case. So I was like, oh my gosh, my GPA is going to go down if I get a B in a class. But that is not currently how we have it set up. Some of the cons, some of the classes might have mature content. I know some students, I had one pursuing an associate's in psychology, took a gender psychology class at Sinclair. So you can imagine what that might have included. Maybe not what we would be talking about here at LCS. So you just have to keep in mind that your student, 14-year-old child, could be with adults, like not just 20-year-old adults, like older adults. I know when I did my master's program, I was twice the age of many of the students taking it, and there were people even older than me. So you just have to keep that in mind. Again, very limited parental involvement. The college calendar does not always align with the school calendar. So if you are planning that senior spring break trip and it doesn't coincide with a break at Cedarville, you're not going to say, hey, going to Florida, can I make my test up when I get back? They're going to be like, what? No. So obviously you're following the college calendar. You're also following LCS's calendar, but they're not going to make exceptions like we would here for students that go on vacation, for example. And I think the biggest thing is if you fail a course, which is rare, but if you fail a CCP course, it can result in you having to actually pay for the course. So if you received funding from the state, you fail a course, you have to pay for the course. And then if you were using that class, like say you were taking English Comp to replace your English 11, if you fail that class, then we have to figure out how are you going to make that class up for graduation. So if you're using it to fulfill a graduation requirement, then we have to get kind of creative to figure that out. So as I mentioned, if you're on an IEP or 504, you, the student, has to, obviously with some parent help if you need it, submits their request of documentation to the Office of Accessibility Services to request accommodations. You want to make sure you do that prior to the semester so there's plenty of time to get that in place. And then I had a student ask me last week, hey, you have to take a placement test at the college that I'm looking at. Can I possibly get accommodations? I will let the college reps answer that when they come up, but my answer is most likely you need to talk to the Office of Accessibility, and that could potentially be an option, but I will let them address that. I'm learning. This is all new for me. Graduation and transcripts, you're still going to get an LCS high school diploma. You're still enrolled as an LCS student, and you're still paying full LCS tuition. College credits that you attempt are included on your high school transcript and will affect your high school GPA. As I mentioned, they are weighted, so that's helpful. LCS will provide textbooks for CCP-funded classes. So if you receive funding for that class, LCS will cover the cost of the textbooks. And then high school graduation requirements will not be waived as a result of participation in CCP. So you have to make sure that you're meeting all of those requirements for graduation, 4 Englishes, 4 maths, 3 science, all of the things. This is, these are some new requirements that LCS will be starting with any student that is new to CCP. So if you're here and you're in CCP and you're like, wait, what? This is just for students that are going to be new to CCP starting in the fall or summer term. So if you participate in CCP coursework, you have to remain on the LCS campus unless you're taking an in-person class, which I know sometimes students do, or if you are 3 or more CCP courses per semester. So if you are signed up and registered to take 3 classes at Cedarville or 3 classes with Sinclair per semester, We will be flexible, as we are with some of our seniors and juniors and sophomores, about leaving early, trying to get to classes. But for students that are enrolled in less than 3 CCP courses, what we plan to do with the more space that we'll have at the Solid Rock location is that you'll be scheduled in our CCP computer lab. So for each CCP course, you'll have one bell in the computer lab to work on that if you're taking an online class. We also want you to be enrolled every semester that you're a high school student in some type of English, math, and then LCS Bible. So obviously you can't take LCS Bible at Sinclair. That is a class that you would have to take here. But we will be flexible. So if you're not taking English 11 and you're taking English Comp, that works. And then this is something that we're adding that I think, this is probably the newest thing, is that LCS is now going to require students that complete coursework at a non-Christian college or university to complete a biblical Christian worldview integration paper for each course that you complete. So if you take gender psychology at Sinclair or educational psychology at Miami, you will have one paper per class that explains, it does a biblical Christian worldview integration. So that's a new requirement. We're going to start in the fall. So you're wondering, now what? What am I supposed to do? I'm interested. What do I do? First step, and I'll make this quick because I want to get to our college reps. First step is to create an OHID. Many of you, probably most of you already have that from EdChoice, and it's your parent OHID. So you want to do that no later than March 15th, but most of you probably already have that done. The second step is to apply to the college or university of your choice. You can apply to more than one. Apply early. Do not wait. I think that's what they will probably tell you too. The sooner the better. You're going to do this before you apply for funding. So even if you're not sure, like I really don't know where I want to go, hey, maybe let's apply at Cedarville, let's try Ohio Christian, all of these things. You can apply anywhere that you want. Do not delay, because a lot of the schools will require you to take a placement test. There's all these steps that you have to jump through, so don't wait. Step 3, and this is the most important thing because everybody wants to get CCP funding, is to apply for CCP funding. Part of your application is your college acceptance letter. So that's why you have to apply to the college first, because you're going to upload that college acceptance letter into this portal, your safe account. It is already open. It opened February 1st, but don't worry, you're not behind. And it closes with a firm deadline of April 1st at 5 p.m., truly. So you cannot apply after that. And then you'll get your funding notification within your CCP funding application in your SAFE account. And then the last step, which is kind of multi-steps, is that you're going to do course registration. So you're going to work with the college and you're going to work with me to determine the best course of action for you and for the upcoming school year. Figure out, hey, do I have to take English 11? I really want to take English Comp. So we'll figure that out. That's, kind of mapping all that out for you. And then we have our own intent to participate form that you have to have submitted online by April 1st, which is also the deadline for this. So that's a good date to remember. Got to fill out that. It's an online form, which we have linked on our website. You'll fill that out. And then you also have to apply for funding by April 1st. There's also a November 1st funding deadline. If you guys don't mind to talk about that for the spring term, I think that's correct. But this is the main time you would apply for the summer and the upcoming fall. Who pays for CCP? I'll try to make this quick. The state, you apply for, you say, this is how many hours I want. The state awards the hours. Generally, seniors get the highest award amounts, and they decrease with each grade. So seniors get the most, then the juniors and sophomores, freshmen, all the way down. And you will get your funding notification approximately 5 weeks after that April 1st deadline. To note, funds are limited, so students may not be awarded, and most likely, the students back here could probably attest, most likely not awarded all the hours that you want. Something that's new for me that I would like for you guys to touch on is that funds cannot be split. So all the course's credit hours must be covered. Is that accurate? Yes? Okay, I'll let you.
Yeah.
Okay, right.
So you can't say I have two state funded hours that I would take this
Right.
and pay for one. You can pay for classes holistically and use state funding at the
Yes.
same time.
Yes, okay, so you can do both. You can use your hours, like your state funded, the funds that you get, and you can self-pay. But like, say I want to take three credit hour classes, and the state only awards me 8 credits. I can use 6 hours for the 2 classes from the state, but I can't take those extra hours and say, hey, what about that third class? I'll just pay for 1 credit. You can't do that. It's just what the state says. We just do what they say. If you apply for funding and you don't get what you want, you can choose not to participate, not a big deal at all. You can self-pay. I'll let each school kind of talk about what their self-pay dollar amount is. I know for Cedarville it's $65, is that right? And most colleges have significant discounts for self-pay. I know Sinclair's like 45-ish, is that 45? So, you know, you're not looking at a lot of money to get college credit. If you consider the cost of tuition and living on campus and all of the things that you could accumulate, you're saving a lot of money. Credit, many of the entry-level classes can be transferred to Ohio public colleges. If you are sure, like, Mrs. Books, I want to go to Lee University. Not that I'm plugging Lee University, that's where I went to college, but if you want to go to Lee University, you're like, I want to go into education. If there's a specific class at Miami, like educational psychology, I know one of our freshmen just took that, and you want to go to Lee, like you can call Lee and say, hey, I'm taking educational psychology at Miami University. Will that transfer in my major, or are you just going to count that as an elective? So you can do the work yourself. You can find out, hey, is this going to transfer in, or are you just going to take this as an elective? You can do all that legwork yourself, but it is going to require some research if you're thinking about transferring to a school outside of Ohio, or a public to a private school. I guess that's kind of a way to describe it. I will let Cedarville kind of talk a little bit more about dual enrollment, but on our campus, as Mr. White mentioned, we are going to have dual enrollment courses here on our campus, which means that they can earn CCP credit without leaving our campus, which is awesome. This is a first. The course will be taught by our teachers, so as he mentioned, like Mr. B would be teaching English under the supervision of a Cedarville professor. It's nice because their classes can schedule with less conflict and they can still enjoy the full high school experience. You can kind of look through this. So these are some potential, and I say potential classes because the main point here is we have to have at least 6 students that have either been funded, like through CCP funding, or that are self-paying. It can be both, is that right? Okay. 6 students in a class in order to run it here on our campus. But these are just some things. So I separated them by, can you go to the next slide, please? Thank you. So we've got English classes, we got a comp class, Western Lit, Fundamentals of Speech, 2 science classes, 3 math classes, and 4 social studies classes. We're being told that they're designed primarily for 11th and 12th grade students, but I will tell you, I know an 8th grader that has taken 1 class and is taking a second through Cedarville online. So I'm not saying that it's not a possibility. I'm saying that it's recommended, especially for some of these upper level math and science classes, that the student be upperclassmen. But for some of the electives, we'll let them talk about it more. It is a possibility that we may have some students that are younger take the classes as well. Okay, now we're to the fun part. College university partners. These are the partners that we have MOUs with: Cedarville, Grace, Mount Vernon Nazarene, Christian Halls International, Ohio Christian, and Sinclair.